Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 90, 91,
Yeah.
90?
91.
91. We're 9 close to the big 100. We'll see if we do a special one for that or if we just let it go as another pod. Nevertheless, I am your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by...
David Allen, hope you guys are doing well, and we will do our best to make 100 special in 9 weeks because we're special people, darn it.
I think so. With that being said, let's get you in and out like we always try and do every week, but we will see if we can do it even quicker. See, we're trying to push ourselves, give you enough information, but in a more condensed time frame. With that being said, here are some of the headlines we're going to go through. We are talking about Samsung bringing its browser to Windows PCs in mass. It used to only be available to, I think, just the Samsung Galaxy Books. Now you might be able to get it on a Surface if you want, or an Asus, or any other one, especially if you were using a Samsung phone. That's what's a benefit. We'll get into more details about that. We also have the US deciding to ban Chinese routers out of caution or security, which in effect bans all routers because most, if not all routers, are made in China. So we'll talk about that and whether or not policy will outweigh functionality. And then there's OpenAI's turbulent week. They've had to come out and stop 2 projects, essentially, one permanently, one on pause. We'll go over those and some of those implications for that and, why they might be doing something like that. And then we'll be talking about Nintendo's kind of weird, interesting, reflective week where they've had to, they kind of said that they finally realized that physical media and digital media are 2 different things, so they should be charged 2 different prices. Thank God. Hopefully other game makers catch on to that. And then they're also going to be cutting production for consoles. Their wildly popular Switch 2 is going to be cut by a certain percentage. And we'll go over, generally speaking, what that means for the game industry. Me and David were talking off mic. We had a long conversation about that. We'll try and condense it here again. Then we also are going to talk about Microsoft's gaming week. They were reaching out to developers talking about why or how you should be developing for Project Helix, which is the code name for the new console that will probably get a dev kit next year, not this year. And then the other thing we're going to be talking about is there was a Xbox partner preview that happened yesterday. We'll go over briefly some of the games that were announced, which you can kind of look forward to. There weren't a ton of huge announcements as far as console or software was concerned, so it was just a strictly gaming experience. And then we'll get into Xbox Play Days, because we know everyone likes those. But as usual, we like to start the week off with a rant. And I think this one is going to be a shared one, a first. But I'm going to let David take it from here.
Well, for those that were caught under a rock, you won't be caught under a rock very much longer. Our good friends at Netflix, our good friends, have decided to raise your prices. And they made it perfectly clear that all prices across all memberships, even the more inexpensive 1080p ad tier, are going up. I believe the premium went up $3 to I don't know the name of the one in the middle. It went up $2, and I think the bottom end went up $2. Well, it kind of ticks me off. I started to say something else there. But how much more are we going to pay for streaming, folks? We have reached that point to where direct TVs and dish networks, back in the day, everybody go cut the cable. It's cheaper. That's the way you can watch it on all your devices. You can pay less money. I think we're headed the other way, folks. Except this time we don't have those terrestrial options to fall back to as easily. Because now DirecTV wants to sell you their streaming service. Dish Network, I think they still exist. They want to sell you their streaming service or their satellite box with the streaming service so you can watch it anywhere. And I look at these streaming providers and I go, okay, are we playing the game of everybody else's cost has gone up, so it's our turn too? That's what this feels like. That's what this feels like to me. It's like, well, we got to have our yearly increase. Well, the economy's bad and the price of Coke and, your favorite beverage is up. We got to go up too. And I think we finally reached that point where people are gonna start laying the remote on the coffee table and getting up off the couch and going, "I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna play a game on my phone. I'm gonna browse the web. I'm going to watch YouTube." Now, I expect YouTube Premium will also, have their little price increase there to get their little bump too. But, that's what people are gonna start doing because ultimately things are more expensive. So, my question to Netflix to keep me from running this on for 30 minutes is very simple. Why? And don't give me the response of, well, the economy's bad. It's inflation. Everything went up. I want a concrete answer as to why you felt the need to raise your prices. Because as we were talking about, I think you're trying to get away from Netflix. I have been investigating the idea, and I think, this next price increase next month is gonna be what makes me. Oh, and just so you realize, tried it last night. You cannot cancel Netflix in the app. No, 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 no. No. They want you to make that extra troublesome step to get on your PC and get on a website to cancel Netflix. You cannot do it in the app. So, that's kinda 2 strikes. Think I'm done with Netflix. What about you, my friend?
I have two little girls that love watching shows on Netflix, so I'm going to be there, which means I have to probably cut somewhere else. That's unfortunate. To your point, we start off with the streaming thing with a plethora of stuff. Things were $2 here, $4 here, and you just got your bundle as you wanted. You got Peacock, you got Paramount, you got Hulu, you got Disney Plus, you had CBS when they thought they could do something. Yeah, you got Prime Video, you had all of them because they were relatively cheap. Now these days, you're dropping down. What was maybe a cornucopia of 7 to 8 streaming services are now down to 3. If you're looking at your Hulu because it comes with Disney or Disney Plus because it comes with Hulu, Netflix because they do have a lot of content that people still enjoy and they've been, one of the mainstays. And then maybe one other, maybe Prime because you like getting packages delivered as well. Those are your big 3, and everything else has kind of fallen to the wayside for a lot of people, I would assume. Um, just so that we are fact based, the tiers are the standard tiers with advertisement. That price increased to $8.99. That's up from $7.99. And that's where you can watch HD and most movies, TV shows, and games are available. You can watch and download on 2 supported devices at the time. Again, support devices are only mobile these days. They don't even offer a PC slash Mac OS app for these things, so you can't download anymore. They're all just web based. The standard ad free tier, which is the middle one that you're talking about, that's $19.99 per month. That went up from $17.99, which allows you to get have all that stuff, watch HD, unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, games, watch, download on 2 support devices. And you have an option to add one extra member who doesn't live with you. And then there's a premium tier, which is the 26.99 per is 26.99 per month. That went up from 22.99. That's where you can get your 4K, your HDs, unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, games, spatial audio, watching 4 supported devices and download on 6 at a time. That's also an option to add up to 2 extra members who don't live with you. Now, the prices for adding a person isn't included as well. That adding a non-household member increases your plan by $1. Adding an extra member to a plan with ads is now $7.99, and adding one to other plans is now $9.99. It's a lot of increasing numbers. To your point, maybe we're going to get to the point where we are picking other options, listening to music, going outside, just talking to each other. I mean, shocker. Hopefully we do that. I'm gonna keep my end of the rant short. You asked why they did it. You're not gonna like the answers because they could. Uh,
Yeah.
I do want to note that they were trying to buy Paramount,
Warner
and I think
Brothers.
this Warner Brothers. They were Warner Brothers, and I think because of the failed venture in this is partly why we're getting the price increase so soon. I'm not a fool. I figured these would go up probably by the end of this year, and maybe not as drastically because you saw the HD one go up about $4. Uh, I think what the failed bid on this, they were looking to recoup some of that and kind of get ahead of whatever efforts that Paramount does with Warner Brothers. I don't think they're going to be good options, but they're trying to, get up enough revenue, get up enough profit to start putting out more shows, and I think, they're going to try and get into, user created content like YouTube, because I think they find YouTube as the biggest competitor. They need the tools for that. And so, this is where that they're trying to draw money. Not make an excuse for it. Don't like it. Netflix, get your act together. With that being said, let's get into our news section, shall we? Unless you have anything else you want to say on the matter that is
No,
that that
no,
that is fit for our podcast.
no, I really don't have anything else on that one because as you said, it probably wouldn't be fit for the podcast because I'm just not a fan of these phantom price increases, whether you're streaming, whether you're gaming, whether you're food. I will, add one thing for sports fans out there. I don't leave the sports fan out. Unless you subscribe to ESPN or one of those premium options, most of us have at least an 80 to $100 bill that has to be paid every month for the live television options. Like I watch March Madness, and I know a lot of people have been keeping up with the tournament. You download the March Madness app. Well, guess what? You've got to have that TV subscription behind it to be able to log in and watch the games. So, a lot of people are paying that 800 bucks. Woo. A lot of people are paying that 80 bucks to 100 bucks just to have regular television for sports. I do. I like my sports. I enjoy NASCAR racing, and in order to do that, you've got to have some form of being able to get live television in, whether that be, an outside antenna. And for me, that doesn't work. I'm out here, way out in the boonies. So the outdoor antenna, people tell me, "Oh, David, get an HD antenna. You won't have to pay for that." Well, signal doesn't reach this far. So a lot of people are paying, 80 bucks. I looked at YouTube TV last night, $82, just for the base subscription. And that's even if you don't add anything on top of it. So at some point, this streaming has to come to a stop in price increases, or we've got to have another division, where we divide it off differently. I don't know what the answer is here, but there's got to be something.
Yeah, it's called a recession, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully not a depression, but we all have to, because we live in a capitalist society, speak with with our dollars. And when they don't have, I think Netflix is somewhere with 327 million subscribers. When that number starts to dip, then they'll start making changes. When they see fewer watch times, they will start to adjust the prices in order to get us back. So that's short of a tar and feather and torches going straight to the CEO's house. The next move is to eventually just have people drop off. Uh, anyway, back to more technical news. We'll start with the Samsung browser. That was a story that you brought in.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. I did. If we had reported on it, in the past, I had forgot about it, and I thought this was rather interesting when I read this yesterday. It's good to see another browser competing with Chrome and Edge. If you are a Samsung fan, I know a lot of people do not use the Samsung browser for this very reason. I am one of them. You can now use the Samsung Internet browser on your Windows PC, any Windows PC, not just your Galaxy Book. I have a Galaxy Book. I would use it there to keep it synced sometimes with my Samsung phone. But what's really cool about this is they also brought AI with it. I don't know how good it is. I haven't tried it yet. But you have the AI model Perplexity is in there, and you can move yourself from Chrome to Samsung with using the Samsung. I looked into this last night. You can use the Samsung extension on your Chrome browser and import all of your data. Supposedly, I have not tried this. You can import all of your data over to your Samsung browser and sync your experiences. So if you're a fan of iPhone, for example, the way Safari syncs between your MacBook and your iPhone, then you may like this. Something they mentioned was cool was, it'll even remember where you were scrolling at on a page. So if you were halfway down reading a sports headline or halfway down your social media feed, it's going to sync where you were between the two devices. Some people, this might not be a big deal. If you don't own a Samsung phone, then you could probably care less. I get it. But I think this is important because that's another browser that can possibly, get up enough oomph to make Chrome wiggle around a little bit, maybe make Edge make a few changes. Maybe Samsung keeps building on this thing. Maybe they start having their own extensions, their own plugins, and Samsung decides, all right, let's go compete with Chrome a little bit, or let's go compete with Edge a little bit. We got some AI in this thing. We've got syncing in this thing. That's half of it. Now, can they do that? And is there a Mac version that appears? That's always possible. But I thought, hey, competition's good. Consumer always wins. So for me, I'm going to give this a try this weekend and see how well it actually syncs up because most of us have quite a bit of stuff in our browsers, whether it be bookmarks, whether it be billing data, subscriptions, whatever. And I want to see how well it syncs over and what it's going to look like when it does.
Yeah, to your point, I use Edge because of that syncing feature. I can get it across my Mac, across Windows, across my phone as well. Um, if for people who buy a Samsung device, which I think there are millions, and just leave the default browser, which is the Samsung one on, this could be a boon for Samsung to get users on the PC as well. Again, it used to only be for the Galaxy books, and that was a very niche clientele and audience. This is much broader. You got yourself a $600 Asus laptop. You've been using a Galaxy S23 or whatever for a long time, and now you don't need to copy paste out of the Samsung browser into Chrome manually. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You can just move it all over. I think it's going to be great. I think, and again, it's for those people who use that. I do know a lot of people who probably go straight to the Play Store and just get Chrome, so they don't have to do that as well. They can do Chrome to Chrome. But
Guilty as charged.
but for anybody who uses the Samsung browser, uh, it's good, and I'm glad that they're investing in this because they still see it as a viable effort and thing to do. So I just like you look forward to it. Let's talk about band routers. That's another one you brought up.
I really wanted to bring this up because I think this is a big deal that could impact all consumers. And when this headline first came out of what we have done, there was a lot. I was just reading forums and reading social media. There was a lot of misunderstandings about what this actually means. Now, in short, the FCC has banned Chinese routers, or routers that are manufactured in China for the reason of security, thinking, that they may plant something in these routers to spy. They may plant something to use home internet connections and attacks, some type of cyber attack. The firmware may be bugged. You kind of get the idea. We've had this floating around now for about a year and a half with the main vendor being mentioned was, TP-Link, and of course TP-Link would come to their defense and say, "Look, our routers are fine." Well, with everything going on in the Middle East and, countries being at war and throwing bombs at each other, I think we've made a decision here to stop selling Chinese routers. Now, what does that mean for you as a consumer? That does not mean that you can't go to your local Walmart, you can't go to your local Best Buy, you can't get on Amazon and buy a router. That doesn't mean your cable company won't be able to bring you a router when yours blows up if you're using, the provided router that a lot of ISPs provide. It might mean that they're slow getting stock, but that doesn't mean they won't be able to provide it. Existing routers on the market that have already been made have already passed through the FCC. For example, this year's brand of your favorite TP-Link, your Google router, your Amazon router, those routers will still be sold in the United States. Now, for example, the 2026 version of the Amazon, they call it the Amazon Eero, the 2026 version of the Amazon Eero. They can't sell it right now. If they had it, they can't sell it. If they launched it tomorrow, they can't sell it. The only way it can be sold is to get what's called a special conditions permit, where supposedly that router has been inspected by the FCC and deemed safe to run in the United States, that it's not susceptible to bots, it's not susceptible to hacking, it doesn't come hacked, and then you're able to sell it. So that is your workaround. And I expect that a lot of these router makers are going to be getting these special exceptions to sell these routers so they can continue to make money. But I think what people need to understand, that does not, let me say it again, that does not mean that you won't be able to go to Best Buy and buy a router. So let's not treat it like the toilet paper issue with COVID, where we all thought we had to go buy all the toilet paper. Let's not go buy all the routers off the shelf and have 4 or 5 in your closet, because they're going to take them off the shelf. We won't be able to buy them anymore. That's not true. It only applies to routers that haven't been released or are currently undergoing testing to be released from the FCC.
Yeah. I really, living here in the US, wish that they would come on television and explain to the American people exactly their findings for this.
That would
They
be great.
they said that they found that these things were hacked, especially around uh, sensitive infrastructure. And again, I am not doubting that it is or not. I just would like them to explain, just like you did, in detail, that hey, the things that have already been cleared that are on shelves currently are okay. You don't need to go out and hoard routers thinking that they're never going to be in here. And that there is a solution to this. Because again, it's one thing to say, hey, we need to ban it. It's another thing to say, hey, we have something in place. Like we are going to help subsidize Google routers if they are in fact made here in US based warehouses, or maybe we're going to do our own government router, which we will hack ourselves because everybody wants our data. Nevertheless, to stop the hordes of people running to Walmart to shore up any type of supply chain uncertainty, you do not only come out with a ban, but you come out with a solution. Coming out with a ban only heightens insecurity
Mhm.
to say, hey, these are no longer allowed. And then people are like, okay, that's great. But one, what is allowed? Two, how do I get what's allowed? And I feel like they've failed on this and they made a big sweeping thing. And again, I'm assuming, which, in this heightened era of criticism and skepticism for the US government, I'm assuming whatever evidence they found is true. Yes, these things are hacked or could be hackable. But please explain what happens next now that we've made the ban. When does the ban come into effect? Where can I go to get a safe, unhacked, or at least Chinese-based unhacked router? Um, that's what we need with our government going forward. Hopefully, if we get a younger breed of legislators in there, they can start to explain this more. I don't know which platform that, again, I think the government needs to create. We used to have C-SPAN. Maybe they need to invest in that and get it out and about. Maybe make some videos. Go on, the more popular social media apps. Start proliferating this information on Instagram, on Threads, on TikTok, and saying, hey, instead of making you know questionable wartime videos, why don't you make a video about the routers, things that people are going to need to pay for here in the U.S. Moving on to our next topic. It's about OpenAI and its turbulent week. I brought this one up, but I think obviously both of us can talk to it. OpenAI had a week of
They did that.
introspection, and I think they are coming to the conclusion that maybe they can't be everything for everybody, especially perverts. OpenAI had to shut down. First off, they had to shut down their Sora platform. That was the big thing. That was creating videos on TikTok, allowing people to place themselves into very popular movies or characters or media in general. It was a video-based LLM, and it was so popular that Disney ran right up to it and was like, "I'd like exclusivity with this, please." I will give you $1 billion, sir. They made an effort to court OpenAI with that $1 billion, and the idea was to help them bring more content to their Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars franchises with this sort of project. This was announced, I want to say, back last fall, sometime around September, October. But we found out last weekend, about Sunday, I want to say Sunday evening, that Sora is dead. And that $1 billion, I don't know where it goes, what ends up happening with it. I'm assuming that when you these weren't just announcements, these are contracts. So maybe that money goes into a different effort in the future. Maybe it's just sitting, in escrow until they can come up with a different
It
idea.
went in the paper shredder, buddy. It went in the paper shredder.
Ah, could have went to us. $1 billion could have went to us. We could do stuff with that. Give people health care. The other thing that happened this week for OpenAI, and I'll let you cover both of them after I get to this one. It's very short as well. Is that they also decided to put a pause. Now it's interesting. Sora is dead, but
But they
adult mode in
oh,
ChatGPT is paused. Uh, ChatGPT decided they were going to, and they announced this. This isn't anything new. They've been kind of testing this for about 6 months now. That they wanted to have an adult mode in ChatGPT, which you know is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically an effort to, but they said more euphemistically, treat adults like adults. If you wanted to have an adult version of a conversation with ChatGPT, you could. What that leads to, we'll let you guys guess. But for the most part, it'll probably end up with what Grok did. And so I think investors realize that, yeah, this is a minefield we don't want to really wade into. So they finally come to their senses and they've paused it for now. What are your thoughts on having to stop Sora, having to pause this adult mode? Is OpenAI starting to realize like maybe AI isn't meant for these kind of things?
one, I think you're right. I think they're starting to realize, one, Sora was expensive. Burning those GPUs to
Oh, it's very
generate
expensive.
video
Yes.
is very expensive, and it's not like OpenAI is dripping with money. They're making they're getting loans and investments and all these good things and all these questionable partnerships, such as the one with Microsoft that has come under fire here over the last few weeks and few months. So they're learning things are expensive. They're learning AI is not for everybody. So they're, cutting back. And I don't think OpenAI is going to be the only one that you see cutting back on some AI services and whatnot, because we've rushed out all these models and all these ideas. We're throwing darts at the dartboard with both hands. That's what we're doing here with AI. Whether you're OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, doesn't matter. We're throwing darts. OpenAI has realized these darts don't stick, or we don't think these darts will stick, or they're too expensive. We can't use golden darts, is what it is. We can't use golden darts and run Sora because it's just too expensive. Now, when you get down to the adult content, I agree. That's not a place that OpenAI belongs. But let's be real about it. There is a place in this world for adult content. It always has been. I think, adult content goes back generations of generations of generations. There's Playboy, there was Hustler magazine, and all those things that went back several generations. We seem to be okay with the magazines. We're okay with, people that do the OnlyFans, and we're okay with people having porn websites like Pornhub and all the others, and we do identity verifications on those to make sure we're keeping people safe and to make sure that people that are looking at content are of age and have the authority by the laws of our country to watch this content. OpenAI put a pause. I find it interesting that they paused and did not end. So what I see happening here is this model gets sold. This model gets recreated. This model is not going to sit on a server somewhere and go, one day we're going to unpause that. This model gets sold to the people that are in the adult content industry that do these type of things that make their money providing this type of content, it gets sold, repurposed, or whatever needs to happen, and it goes to its rightful place. OpenAI has no business, in my opinion, in adult content. Neither does Google, neither does Microsoft. Let me be completely fair. You know, adult content has a lane. I want it to stay in its lane. I don't want to risk the fact of, my niece or my nephew sits down to use their uncle's computer and they type something into AI and get back responses that weren't intended. I don't like the thought of that. Even though kids are exposed to things, in my opinion, sometimes way too soon in today's world, I don't like the thought of there just being a model out there that says, okay, start typing your, adult thoughts or your adult fantasies, whatever they may be, into this model and, we're going to react upon it. I mean, it kind of makes me cringe just a little bit. That's just me. But if we're going to do it, let's keep it safe.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. From a business aspect, I think OpenAI is heading towards I think public investment. They've always had I think they've had 12 rounds of private investment. I think they're trying to do an IPO soon. So, having an adult LLM that could be problematic and ripe with lawsuits, depending on how people use it. Because again, OpenAI can put out the language model. We saw what happened when Grok and XAI did that. You could have the purest intentions, but that doesn't mean your customers do.
Right.
And when they're making celebrities nude or, underage people, then you have yourself a big problem. And OpenAI is not in the good graces like Elon is to kind of have this stuff coast over right now. I think, if the political headwinds change, X could be in a lot of trouble. And I think the investors realize that with OpenAI as well. And until OpenAI can start to fund itself perpetually, they have to go where the investors go. To your point about not mixing some of these bigger name uh, companies with adult content. I agree with that too, but I think it's for different reasons. I don't want to necessarily have investors shaping the things I like to do as an
Hmm.
adult on
I
whatever these
agree.
things are. But I do agree that there needs to be regulations. There needs to be some guidelines to some of this stuff to keep kids safe, to keep people safe, to keep especially women safe. And I say women, but
Yes.
anybody who could be subject to revenge porn or anything like that, there needs to be that kind of stuff set in place before we start running wild with it. Yes, let your fantasies run wild to while it doesn't hurt other people. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is Nintendo had a week as well. Theirs
Mm.
didn't include a naked Mario or anything weird like of that nature, but they also had a introspective week, I would assume, because they came out with two pretty good gaming um headlines. One of them was that Nintendo's deciding to split digital and physical gaming prices. They've come to the realization that packaging and marketing and shelf space on stores, stuff like that,
I
requires that
didn't
they're
get my box, darn it. I don't want to pay for it.
exactly. They realize maybe customers have finally gotten to them that these prices shouldn't be the same. When you get a digital code, it doesn't cost you very much to produce that. So maybe you shouldn't charge the same amount as you would for something that sits on a shelf that you have to rent. So I think let's see, the first example that they're going to start doing this pricing is for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which will cost $59.99 for the digital version and $69.99 for the physical copy. So it's $10 difference, but again, we're talking about still expensive copies of games. I remember when, uh, what was it, the SNES, that the top price for a game at that point was $50. And if you got like an deluxe edition, you're looking at 60. So, we've seen inflation move up. We're looking at $70 games. And again, Nintendo warned that you would get that. But at least now, not the digital and the physical are both 70. The other thing they came up with as far as the headline was that they're going to be cutting production for the Nintendo Switch by 30%. That's a big headline.
Mhm.
It's also kind of a bellwether for what we could expect for gaming in the next year or two. They're seeing a softening demand, and this was during the holiday season, which was never a good sign. That's when most people do their buying. And again, this is for the Switch that started off really, really hot. They were on pace to do as well, if not way better than the original Switch. But again, with the softening demand, they've realized that they're going to cut that again production by 30%. And again, that's mostly here in the US. Again, worldwide, they're still selling pretty well. But again, those are in relative numbers. The biggest market that they have isn't here in the US. Production in Japan will probably stay the same, but again, they do it at a much smaller volume. And the console still sits at around $449, with the potential of it raising, soon into the future, maybe going into the next shopping season. What are your thoughts on these two headlines from Nintendo? Are they also kind of preparing for
Yeah.
a weird gaming future?
I'm seeing companies start to prepare for what looks to be right now the inevitable. You know, as things, it's supply and demand versus what it costs. As things get more expensive, people have to choose what they want to do. So if Nintendo is seeing a less demand for their console, well, I should say handheld, less demand for their handheld, then that should tell you something. That should tell you, of course, that means less people are buying it. That means they're putting their money somewhere else. Nintendo got out in front of this. They see it, they've reacted. They maybe they didn't wait for things to get too deep because we're in, let's call it end of March, 1st of April. That's where we're sitting. So we're Q1, third month of the year, Q1. Okay, so they're looking, they're sitting down at the meetings and they're looking at, what they did the end of last year. And I'm, well, wait a minute. This didn't turn out well. Well, instead of waiting another quarter to have another quarter to compare it to, like, let's react now.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to set a precedence for everybody else because something we talked about off mic, the PlayStation consoles have gone up $100. We're not seeing a cut down of manufacturing, at least it's being announced, but we're seeing a price increase. So Nintendo's being smart. If things are going to get more expensive, the idea that the same amount of people are going to want it, probably not true. So let's go ahead and cut production now. Maybe they're looking at the RAM cost. Maybe, they know how much RAM they have in stockpile or in surplus, and they know when that runs out, we might have to bump that price, but we don't have people buying that. So let's maybe cut our manufacturing back to what we need, maybe even create a little supply and demand because in the end, you sell a little bit more. When products are, when there's three Nintendo Switches on the shelf versus where there was 15, you're standing there, well, I'll get it next week. I'll get it next payday. No, what do you tend to do? You tend to make that purchase then. That's how we react as consumers. So that may be part of what's going on there as well. That they may be able to say, well, we can cut it back and maybe there's, less on your shelf at Walmart or your local Best Buy, or maybe, Amazon or wherever you buy it from actually shows out of stock once in a while. Make you want it. So maybe, I think it's a good thing they're doing it given our climate. I think it's a bad thing that they have to do it because of the climate we're in.
Okay. I agree with everything you said. And I'm going to move on to our last topic, which is finally Microsoft related. For all of you yelling at your TVs or yelling at your earphones, why aren't these guys talking about Microsoft stuff? Save the best for last. Microsoft also had a week, but it's all gaming. Obviously, there are bad probably headlines for Microsoft news, but it was a slow week and we got some of the better ones. What we are talking about is Microsoft uh, is reiterating how to develop for Project Helix. For those of you who've been following the podcast, it's their next gen console. They've been reaching out to developers through various showcases and insider communications or whatnot. And they're basically saying that uh, if you're developing for Project Helix, the best way to do it, because it's supposed to run both Xbox console builds and PC builds natively, is to develop a single version, focus that single version on the Xbox Series X and PCs for today. meaning supporting Xbox Play Anywhere is encouraged. It also ensures that a game's PC version will already be compatible with Helix hardware. Microsoft says the approach will allow developers to ship one build that runs across PC, Project Helix, and cloud streaming services. More details will obviously be filtered throughout 2026 and 2027. We may even see some stuff at Build. Maybe there might be one or two sessions in a back hall, conference or hall room somewhere. You might have to seek it out through all the AI, Microsoft stuff that is out there.
Yeah, you
Uh,
use the term.
I used it. Come at me, Nadella. Microsoft also reiterates that Helix is being co-designed with AMD. So if you are, already adept at APIs for AMD and things like that, you might have a leg up. But the version of that's coming should have major improvements for ray tracing, rendering, simulation performance. So those are things. If you're a developer out there and you're maybe one of the last 250 developers that are still interested in Xbox, start building towards the Xbox Series games and APIs. And if you have a PC version, apparently Microsoft, I think, will have a like sort of for lack of a better term, a translation layer that will turn your PC games that were perhaps made 10 years ago that were only based on keyboard inputs. They will translate them into buttons for the console, which I think is pretty cool. The other thing that happened, and I'll let David jump in on this in a second, was that we had a Xbox partner preview. It came, it shone, and then went away. But there were about a handful of games that if you're interested in, um, we can talk about quickly here. There was Hunter the Reckoning, which is Death Wish, a new first-person action game set in the world of darkness that should be arriving in 2027. There's Stranger Than Heaven, the new action adventure from Gotoko Studios, which spans 5 areas in 5 cities. More details will be shared during another dedicated showcase just for that one, I believe, or that studio. Hold on a second. Let me, while I'm talking, give you guys a visual because looking at our mugs while this is going on might be kind of boring. Here you go. Just kind of brief overview. There was also a first look at Alien Deathstorm, a new first-person shooter from Rebellion set on a storm-ravaged alien world. The game will support Xbox Play Anywhere and launch on Xbox Series X, PC, and cloud. I don't know if it's all at the same time. There's Wuthering Waves, the open world action RPG, which is coming to Xbox platforms this year. So finally, we get a game in 2026. The Expanse, Horizon Reborn, which now has a spring 2027 release window and beta arriving in 2026. Hades 2, uh, Dispatch, Super Meat Boy 3D, and new DLCs for Stalker 2 are all confirmed for Xbox platforms with new trailer updates uh, set, I think, for later this year. I want to get my hands on uh, Hades 2 and Dispatch. Those are the two I've been really looking forward to, but I'm gonna let David jump in on this. What are your thoughts on one, uh, development for this Project Helix, and two, some of the games that were listed? There's a Bingo and Bluey game. Oh man, I got to get on this. My girl's gonna love that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's gonna be one I'm gonna have to check out. My little niece would love that one too, so I'm gonna have to get on that one and try out Hades with you. I think I would enjoy that as well. But to answer your question, Microsoft's goal is to get developers committed to Project Helix as quick as possible. With the idea being once you're committed, it's hard, it's kind of like a relationship. Once you're committed, it's a little harder to get out. Once you've said, "Hey, I'm committed to you. I have put a ring on your finger. We're gonna do this deal." It's a little harder to get out. You can't just walk out and say, "I'm done." And the reason I'm approaching it this way, I think by the time we get to the point of Project Helix getting marketing and actually getting a box to go in and we start designing the things to put it on the shelf, I think we're going to have to reevaluate where gaming is. Because as we continue to mention, gaming is changing. We talked about it just a second ago with Nintendo cutting 30%. Gaming is changing and gaming is changing quickly. That used to be where we put, gamers would put their disposable income. hey, I've got an extra $50 this month, or I've got an extra $60 this month. Let me go buy XYZ game, or let me make sure I renew my Game Pass Ultimate membership for 3 months instead of 1 month, because I've got that extra money. I might not have it in 3 months. Let's do it now. But as our climate continues to change and things become harder to get, such as RAM, which is a core component of any gaming console or handheld, and hard drives and SSDs become more expensive, other things are becoming more expensive. So Microsoft says, look, we got this thing over here. Project Helix, going to be a PC, going to be a console. We're going to give you the best of both worlds. They haven't said how we're going to do that yet, but they're telling game developers, you need to start thinking about it. You need to start picturing your games on this console and how you want your players to interact with these games. I get it. You're spinning the wheel. You've got to start spinning the wheel. You've got to start building it up. Next we'll hear what specs are, what the features are, maybe what some of the limitations are. Then we'll start hearing things about possible release dates and possible titles. But at the end of the day, a gamer wants a game to play. We don't care what it comes on. So I'm hoping that Xbox, maybe it's some of these from the conference you were talking about here. Maybe it's Hades, maybe it's something else. Maybe one of these smaller developers comes up with a big title that really takes off. But you've got to have a game for people to want to play with that new hardware. Hardware is not shiny without a game. I remember back when I wanted a VCR as a kid. I didn't care who made that VCR. I just told my mom and dad I wanted a VCR. I didn't care who made it, didn't care if it was two-head VCR, four-head, dual tape, able to, record off television. Didn't matter to me. Why did I want that VCR? Because my aunts and uncles had lots and lots and lots of Disney movies on VHS tapes. I didn't buy the VCR for the VCR. As long as it played those tapes that I had access to, that I wanted to watch, that I wanted to enjoy, I'm good. So if PlayStation comes out with that hot game, I'm gonna go buy a PlayStation. Now, most gamers are too. If Nintendo comes out with that hot game, we're gonna go buy a Nintendo Switch. So come on, Microsoft, talk to your developers. See what they're working on. I don't know what your incentive programs are. I don't know if you contribute money to these studios to help them develop your games. I don't know what your program is. But Halo was the last big one in my book. Halo and Gears of War, they're kind of tip for tap. That was, we have done remakes of those ever since. But let's go find an original that can get up there with the Halos, the Gears of War, the Grand Theft Autos. Put it out there. Let's use this word. Let's make it an exclusive. Yeah, let's do
Not
that.
the E word. Hey, watch your
You
language,
know,
buddy.
let's make it exclusive to give people the reason to go buy whatever box it is you're creating. Because if you give them the titles, they'll cut you some slack on the box. If the box isn't perfect and doesn't do every little thing, give them the titles. They'll cut you some slack there, and you might make this work.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Got nothing else to add. Speaking of games, what are you going to be playing this weekend? Thanks to our free play days.
Well, we got free play. Blah, blah, boy, look at me. Free play days was a little short this week on titles. Let me scroll down and see what we have here. We've got March 26th through the 29th. You've got all weekend here on both of these. You've got one that's called Rubber Bandit. This one was for Game Pass subscribers. Rubber Bandit is a physics-driven party brawler that returns this weekend for some good I call it good old slapstick comedy, slapstick type of game. Just good old fashioned fun. Smash your way and steal your way through high high themes arenas. Physics are optimal. Mayhem is promised. This one just looks like a ball of fun to me. I don't know. There's just something about this that clicks with me. It's on sale this weekend for $9.99. So there's you an inexpensive game. You know, times are getting tougher. There's an inexpensive title. There's a studio that's giving you an inexpensive title that looks pretty good from the videos. I haven't tried it yet. That's on my list to try. The other one is Train Sim World 6, Thomas and Friends. This one is free for everybody. No Game Pass membership required. Try your hand at being a train conductor, folks. Special edition of Train Sim World 6 includes the free starter pack that helps you learn about train operations. Then you can use your driving skills to drive through the 80th anniversary expansion pack. Drive through story-driven adventures all weekend long, and you can keep this one for $19.99. So there's a discounted price on a game. So if you wanted both, you could spend a little over $30, including tax this weekend, and you could get you two good games there to try out. Remember, I say this every week. Maybe Microsoft will listen one week. To get to these, go to Xbox.com or on your console, probably where you're looking for them anyway. Head over to your membership, find Game Pass, then slide down to free play days, and you'll find both of these games there. Put it on the dashboard, Xbox. Put it on the dashboard. Make this easy. When you turn the console on Thursday evening when you put these out, give me a pop-up. This is how you sell inexpensive games and get people to take advantage of deals and find studios that they might not necessarily find. It's not hard, but I'm going to be trying both of these out. I think both of these will be fun. I really want to see what that Rubber Bandits is all about. I was watching the, video yesterday that you were just showing to our viewers there, and that just looks like it's going to be fun. Maybe something your kids would enjoy. Maybe my nieces would enjoy. And I don't know the first thing about how to drive a train, so maybe I need to try that one out too. But which one are you trying? Are you trying none of the above? What do you
uh,
which
I'm gonna get into Rubber Bandits. That looks really
It
fun.
does.
It's got a four player like PvP kind of thing going on, which looks like a lot of fun. The graphics look really comical. I don't know what the handles are for the controller itself, but it looks fun. So me and my girls, we may when we get a break or some free time, get into that. Where can people find you if they want to hang out with you and play some video games this weekend?
Sure, I'll be playing some video games this weekend. I think we've got one day of the weekend that's outdoor quality and one day of the weekend that is a little doubtful. So David PAJ 1978. That's over on the Blue Sky, and you can also find me Twitch over there. I go over there and work off some late night stress. So if you see me with a cold beverage in one hand and I'm kind of comfortable and I'm slightly fussing when bullets don't hit where they're supposed to, um, understand that I'm having a good time and feel free to jump in there with me. Trust me, if you've seen me on Twitch, it's always some good laughs because I'm a casual gamer. I don't do this for a living. I don't get paid to create gaming content or anything like that. So I do it for fun. Come laugh with me. Come have a good time. Have a drink. But hope everybody has a good weekend. And while we're here, we might want to mention next week is a holiday in the United States. So I don't know if we'll be here next weekend or next week or not. We'll have to wait and see how the news goes. I know it's Good Friday here in the United States, and I know a lot of people take off next Wednesday, Thursday, and make it a long weekend. So I thought I'd throw that out there before we get off.
Yeah, you can find me at Happy Hulk Blue Sky if you want to talk politics or you want to talk comics. You can find me at Kareem Anderson on Threads. I should probably change that so it's one across everything. If you want to talk uh, comics and just other random fun things.
He's keeping
Other
his he's keeping his alter ego.
I know it's so many split personalities. I got to keep it straight. If you don't want to find us anywhere else, we suggest you guys go outside, touch some grass, enjoy yourselves. If the weather's conducive to that, as we always say on the show, enjoy whatever it is you do end up doing this weekend. We will
Enjoy
be back
life,
to you
folks.
100%, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. We don't, you serial killers out there listening, stop listening to us. For everybody else, go barbecue, go cut some grass, go wash your car, go listen to some music, go give your kids a long hug. I'm sure they would appreciate it, and you probably would too. We will see you guys week after next. We hope you guys are, obviously we'll be writing on the website. So drop us a comment, read our uh, articles as we write them. We probably got some reviews coming up for some things as well. But until then, enjoy yourselves, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks, folks. Have a good weekend.